Your calculation skills are going to significantly improve after watching this video. But first of all, I just want you to look at this position. Just look at this position. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds just to see what is the position about. And okay, time's up. Now there's a huge mistake that many of us tend to make whenever we are in the beginner level, intermediate, and well, admittedly also in the advanced level. We start calculating right away. We start thinking, okay, should I take this pawn? Should I push the pawn? Should I push to a7 because we're trying to make a queen? Should I do something else? Well, that's the mistake that many of us make. We start calculating right away. That's the biggest mistake that we do. First of all, before you even think, you have to look at the position. When you look at the position, then you can sense what is the position is about, and is it a winning position? Is it a losing position? Is it a drawing position? You calculating pawn takes or pawn push does not help you at all because you don't know what is the position about. You're just trying to make a move, just trying to take, just trying to push, trying to do something. Here, from just looking at this position, you clearly saw that there's a queen and a bishop against a knight and a bishop. Now this is clearly winning for black, right? Because you're like, okay, black has a queen, it's really impossible for us to try to win this. That's a good starting point. You look at this position and you see black is winning. So making a silly move as pawn takes or pawn push will not help us. That's what looking at the position helps you with. It starts to eliminate unnecessary moves. That's going to lead to your loss. Also, pawn push, some kind of a king move. These pawn pushes, all of these pawn moves are a waste of time because your opponent has a significant advantage. Your opponent is up 4 points of material in this position. So making an unnecessary move will definitely lead to a loss. So you probably also saw that the enemy king is stuck. Cannot go to g5 because of the pawn, cannot go here because of our pawn, and cannot go here because of because our king on h2. So you saw that the king cannot move, so now you sense that there is some kind of a checkmate. So you start to eliminate moves that are bad, like capturing a pawn, pushing, doing unnecessary moves with the knight or with the bishop, and you start seeing that there's a checkmate if you manage to find the right sequence of moves. So now it's not about pushing a pawn, it's not about capturing a pawn, it is about checkmating the enemy king. All of this happened because you did not calculate in the beginning. You just looked at this position, and then you saw that the enemy has a significant advantage, is up a queen, and his king is trapped. The king cannot move. So this tells you that you have to make an attacking move, not a capturing move, not a passive move, an attacking move that leads to the checkmate of the enemy king. So now, how can we do that? I want you to look at the squares that will lead to a checkmate for the king, for the black king. For example, we can use the bishop to checkmate the enemy king on f2, on e1. We can use the knight to checkmate the black king on g2 or f3, f5, g6. So these squares lead to a checkmate. So now, instead of moving the knight anywhere else or thinking about anything else, you start seeing how can I get any of these two pieces on the squares that we need them to in order to get the checkmate, right? All of these lead to a checkmate as long as the pawn is still there. Okay. Now, when I first looked at this position, I saw that the enemy king was trapped, and I immediately thought about, okay, so I have an idea. The idea is to checkmate the enemy king using my knight or my bishop. So I eliminated all of the unnecessary other moves and only thought about checkmating the enemy king. So I saved myself a ton of time and I solved this in just a few seconds actually. But it turns out that my calculation was not that deep because I missed a tactic at the end. And that is the importance of calculating and looking at really the most absurd moves you can ever think of, like sacrificing your queen, sacrificing the bishop, sacrificing an entire piece. You should think about everything. So now in this position, I thought about the move knight to d4. So after I saw the position, I saw that black has an advantage, but the enemy king is stuck. So I have to do something about checkmating the enemy king, putting the bishop here, or putting the knight here, 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 here. So my focus shifted to only to these squares and these two pieces. Okay. So I thought about the move knight to d4. It might seem like it's a free piece. Well, after he takes it, we can take with the bishop. Okay, and what I saw, bishop to f2 is checkmate in 1. The enemy king cannot move. The pawn cannot be captured because I already sacrificed the knight in order for the pawn not take my pawn. So now bishop to f2 will lead to a checkmate, right? This is what I saw, and I literally thought that I actually solved it in just a matter of 4 seconds. I solved this sequence in 4 seconds. And I also saw that black can play something like bishop to a7. But I was like, I don't really care. I cannot play bishop to f2 right away because that's going to lead me to lose my bishop. So I just take the bishop and I just get back. I mean, even the queen went to g5 or queen went to g8, it doesn't matter. The check will be unstoppable. Checkmate. So this is what I saw. But after looking at this position, after bishop takes and bishop to a7 and bishop takes, there is no queen to g5 or queen to g8 because now you have to find the right move for black in this position. You have to play defensive as well in this position. So for black, you can see that the pawn cannot move. The pawn is going like this. This pawn cannot move. It's going like this. And the king cannot move. The only piece that can move is the queen. So you have to put the queen in a square that's going to lead white to capture it and lead to a stalemate because white is significantly up a lot of material. And white will be winning this. So your idea now shifts from trying to give checks with the queen or trying to protect the checkmate, which is impossible. Then you start thinking about, okay, I just need to put the queen in front of the bishop, and this is actually forcing white to take it because if the bishop moved anywhere else, it's going to lead to a lot of damage. It's going to lead to a checkmate somehow. And after bishop takes, well, the black king cannot move, the pawns cannot move, and it is a stalemate. So this is what I failed to see. Because the sequence that I saw the moves, which is actually queen b6 first, and I just take it. And then bishop here, and I just take it. Even queen to here, I don't even need to take the queen. I can just play bishop to f6, which is also checkmate. The queen moved away from defending the f6 square, which leads to also a checkmate. But I did not see the queen to b6 sacrifice after the bishop sacrifice. That was a mistake. Now you might say, okay, black will not take the knight. Black will just push. Well, pushing the pawn, it is stopping the knight to f3 checkmate, right? But it's not stopping knight to f5 checkmate, right? The king cannot move and the pawn is holding the square. That's why black cannot actually push. What about pawn takes pawn? When pawn takes pawn, if we played knight to f5 check, then we are losing because the king can run. But if we played knight to f3, it will be checkmate because the king cannot go here because of our knight. So, but again, this move does not work because after pawn takes, bishop takes, there is bishop to a7, and after bishop takes a7, there is this really insane queen b6 move, sacrificing the queen in order to get the stalemate. So I made a calculation mistake. The reason I did that because I did not have an idea of queen sacrifice. I only saw that the black king was actually stuck, so I can deliver checkmate. But what black saw, that the black king is stuck. So all I have to do is to sacrifice all my pieces to get the stalemate. That's how you think in chess. You think about the obstacle and the solution right to it. You don't really think about unnecessary moves like captures or moving the queen or moving the bishop trying to survive this. Now, the right move, of course, now you might saw it, which is bishop to d4, sacrificing the bishop. Now you might say that what is the difference? You saw that after knight takes, there is this really good move bishop here, and then queen b6 leading to stalemate. Now bishop here, can he take the bishop? When pawn takes bishop, there's knight takes pawn, and knight to f5, knight to f3 are both checkmate because the king cannot run. And black doesn't have any kind of checks. Black can stop the knight from going to f5, but it cannot stop the knight from going to f3, which leads to checkmate. Okay, you might say, he's not going to take the bishop, he's just going to push. Pushing will help us play checkmate in one, because this is what we want. We want to go bishop here and bishop to f2, getting the checkmate. So if he push, it doesn't help anyway. It's going to be a checkmate because the king cannot run. Okay, so what after bishop to d4 and pawn takes pawn? After pawn takes pawn, now I want you to really think about this position and see what can you do to deal with this, because now there is no pawn stopping the king from running away. And if the king managed to run away, black's significant advantage will prevail and black will win this, right? So what would you play here in this position? Again, you should have an idea. The idea is that black will 100% win this game on the spot if we gave black a chance to make a move. So we should not allow black to make a strong move. We should only be forcing black to make forcing moves. For example, which is a check. This is the only check that we have, bishop to f2 check. Okay, now the only square for black is to go to g5. Again, what would you think in this position and why? Giving this check will not help you in any kind of way. Black will run away to any other square. Putting the knight on d4, it might seem like a good move. You're trying to fork him, you're trying to give some checks, but of course black can still move away, and the queen can just go actually here to a5, attacking this pawn, and once the bishop moves, it will be attacking this pawn with a check, trying to win the knight as well. So a lot of problems happening because you made an unnecessary move that is not a forcing move, which leads to a significant advantage for black. So what is the move here? Again, forcing moves and thinking about a really good idea. Remember in the beginning when I showed you that the knight jumping to d4 and then to f3 or to f3 or to f5 will lead to a checkmate, but only if the black king was on h4. It will lead to a checkmate on f3. So again, knight to d4, knight to f3 will be checkmate, but only if the king is stuck on h4. So what do? We force the black king back to h4. Now you might say the king can move here, here, here. But whenever the king moves, he's going to lose the queen, and then we're going to push, and we're going to make a queen. It's going to be 100% winning for white. So black is forced to take the bishop. Now once black is forced to take the bishop, now you can see that the black king only has one square to go to. So now you think about this move knight to d5, knight to d4. Knight to d4 and knight to f3 will be checkmate in one, because now we're taking control of the g5 square, which is the runaway square for the king. Black cannot do anything about this knight to f3 check because this is a light square, and both of the queen and the bishop are on dark squares, so black cannot really do anything to stop the knight to f3 check. Nothing. Whatever it does is going to be checkmate in one because the king cannot run. Now you might say, after knight to d4, black can just run. Well, that is the point of sacrificing the bishop on h4, forcing the black king back, and then putting the knight here, starting checkmate in one, so that the black will run away. And now, of course, you saw the pattern. There's a pattern here, which is winning the queen on e6, knight to e6 check. King moves somewhere, we take the queen. Now, this is 100% winning for white. Now you might say, why is it winning? There's a pawn here. Well, it doesn't matter. This pawn can never be making a queen because now we're going to play some kind of a knight c6 attacking the bishop. The bishop will be lost and the pawn will promote. Even if the bishop moves, there's some kind of a this, he can push. Here, it can just play some kind of a king g2, stopping the pawn from promoting, and this will lead to a win for white. Now, all of this happened. Why? Because you didn't start calculating at the beginning of the video. You just paused, you looked at the position, you saw that black has an advantage, but you also saw that the black king is stuck. So you just literally just started thinking about checkmating the black king, either on the f2 or e1 square, or on the g2, f3, f5, and g6 squares. So in order to get those checkmates, you need to use the knight and the bishop. So now you start thinking creatively. You don't need to be a GM to see the knight to d4, but at the end there's a queen b6, so we have to not include this one because it does lead to a draw. So you don't have to be a GM to see this bishop to d4 move. You just need to have an idea. And once you have an idea, a really strong idea, now you start calculating whether the idea works or not. So that's the point. Whenever we play chess, whenever we are in a critical position, we just make a move. We make whatever move because we think that just making a move is the important thing. We don't want to lose on time. We don't want to, whenever we lose a piece, we want to gain a piece right after because we just want to have an even game. We don't want to be at a disadvantage. Now, in this position, it really shows you that being at a disadvantage, being down 4 points of material, and sacrificing a bishop and still winning the game, that shows that you have a really great idea. So that is the point of this video. Don't rush making moves. I know it sounds really, I mean, of course, if you're playing a blitz game and the position is really simple, you can play any, whatever move that you want to play. But whenever you are in a critical position like this one, you're solving a puzzle, you're solving a really, difficult puzzle, you should have an idea first. You should look who is winning this position, okay? Who has better advantage, who has like more pieces, which is black in this position. And then you start thinking about, okay, if black is winning this, then I have nothing to lose. Then I should not be making silly moves, silly trades, pushing pawns, or doing whatever. I should be focusing on the important part, which is seeing that the black king is stuck and then focusing on maneuvering the pieces that we have, strong pieces that we have, to get the checkmate on any of these squares. And then we do that by starting calculating whether the moves that we make actually works or not. And the reason I started with the move knight to d4, because I wanted to show you the mistake first of not calculating deep enough. Because I saw all of this, but I failed to see queen to b6, which completely shocked me. After I saw this move, I was like, okay, I can just take it. That's just stupid. And bishop f2 checkmate. But this is a stalemate because no pieces can move. That's why you should think about the position first, have an idea, and once you have an idea, then you start thinking about how can I make this idea come true? How can I make this work? Then it will be 100% better for you and easier for you to think and calculate a chess. That is the video. I really hope that you learned something valuable from this video. It really helped me because I've seen this in a book called My System, and something that it really teaches, it is a really important thing that it teaches, that you don't have to calculate right at the beginning. You just have to look at the position, and once you look deeper enough, you start seeing things that many people don't see. You start seeing things that only grandmasters can see. That is the beauty of looking at a position before calculating, and not get into calculating right away. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you again with another one.